All right, guys, good afternoon. It is 5 p.m. on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019. Hope you're doing well. I just want to make a video here on the risk event coming up during the Asian session tonight, and that is the Australian dollar Q1 CPI. So, for those that don't know, CPI is their inflation number, a very key indicator for any economy. CPI stands for Consumer Price Index. And again, it's just a measure of inflation. And generally speaking, when CPI goes up, it's good for the currency. Currency tends to appreciate. When it's down, it generally tends to push the currency down. So we'll take a quick look at what's expected, and then I'll take a quick look at the charts. So the Aussie, if you've been following it for the last several weeks, has been really very well supported and really has been just trending up, except for maybe the last couple of trading sessions. It's either down or sideways. And so there's been a lot of positive sentiment in the market. The employment numbers came out really good last week, and they've had some decent numbers. But also, you got to keep in mind that the Royal Bank of Australia, the RBA, still has not changed really at this point. It's more dovish outlook about whether they want to cut rates. And the last time they put out monetary policy minutes, they were still fairly dovish, and the market kind of shrugged that off and has been still appreciating the Aussie since then. So I think this is going to be a really important report because, like I said, last week we got better than expected employment numbers, so that certainly will help things. But as far as this number to come out, this is really going to set the stage here going forward on the Aussie, because if it disappoints and comes out either basically as it's expected, let's see, that's next week. Okay, so we're expecting it to come in worse than expected, especially at the headline 0.2 versus 0.5. The trimmed, which is kind of like the core, when you take out more volatile sectors like energy, is supposed to come in flat. And here on Forex Live, they've got some really good previews here, so you should go and read these. Again, 0.2 versus 0.5 last time. Year over year is expected to be 1.5 versus prior 1.8. And then the trimmed, again, expected to come out the same quarter over quarter. Year over year is supposed to dip a little bit to 1.7. And so if that happens and it does come out with those numbers or possibly weaker, then I would expect the Aussie to sell off because the market's going to basically probably use up its positive sentiment and just say, hey, remember what the RBA said about them not being as positive and more dovish, and then potentially the market will start to look towards there being a rate cut by the RBA maybe as soon as next month. On the flip side, I think if it comes out positive, that the Aussie will continue to be supported because the market will say, hey, good employment report last week, good inflation number. Maybe the RBA will change its tune, and I think the positive sentiment will continue. So it'll be interesting to see. We could also have a situation where it comes out maybe a little better than expected, and it still goes down anyways, where it's kind of like the buy the rumor, sell the fact, where the market's expecting a positive number, so it rallies into the news, and when the news comes out, there's nowhere else for it to go, and it turns down. And that's the one that always frustrates people, saying, oh, the fundamentals don't work because the news was positive and the currency went down anyways. Well, you have to know what led into that. So I think that's a possibility too, especially if it comes out like as expected or maybe slightly better. I think it may be more slightly better than expected. It comes out flat from last month's report, then I would expect even that still could turn it down. But if we blow it out and have a really good beat, then I think the party continues. If it comes out significantly lower, then be prepared for a significant sell-off. So I'm not going to be trading this going into the news. I'm going to see what happens, but you should definitely go to Forex Live and read this. This is posted on their site right here, and there's two previews. You can actually read it right here, and then there's two other little quick previews you can click on and read. And this will give you a little bit of background about the report coming out. This one's actually better, I think. But I mean, that's it. That's as long as it is. It'll take you about 2 minutes to read it, but it'll give you some expectations, at least what the market's looking at. Remember, guys, during the Asian session, which is when this is going to come out, we have lower liquidity and lower volume. So moves tend to be potentially exaggerated and maybe short-lived. And a lot of times what you end up seeing is the market does one thing during the Asian session, and then when London reopens, it goes back the other way. So be very careful. This is one of those situations where that could happen, especially if the news comes out, flat, where maybe it goes down initially and then, turns back up during the London session. Just be careful of that. That's pretty common with these Asian session risk event, especially with the Aussie. So we'll take a quick look at a couple of charts here. So this is the Aussie Kiwi on the daily chart. And look at the 1 hour chart. I mean, look at this. These candles just basically going sideways, kind of drifting down, all these tiny little candles on the hourly chart here. This goes back to last week. Just kind of drifting, but not really making any progress. This is Aussie Swiss. Again, completely flat, what we call flat-tastic, right? It's not doing anything. Here's Aussie Canadian. Again, probably driven more by the Canadian. Let's look at Aussie Yen. So I said on Aussie Yen that we had broken out of this sideways action here, and now we've got this kind of trending down now since then. That's the daily chart. Here's the hourly chart. Obviously, it looks more like a downtrend here. So it's going to be interesting to see. Let's look at Euro Aussie for a second. So Euro Aussie to me looks like it wants to go down again. So anyways, guys, so I'll tell you what my impression is, okay? And again, guys, do not take trades based on anything I'm telling you, because this could all change. We could be looking at this heading into the news, and the market could be moving in a certain direction, where the market makers might be spiking it up just to take it lower, or they could be spiking it down just to take it higher, or whatever. I don't really know. We're still about 4.5 hours from the news, right? I think it's at 9:30 New York time. 9:30. So 4.5 hours from now before the news comes out. So we got a ways to go, and we're just starting the Asian session now. But looking at pairs like the Aussie Swiss, Aussie Kiwi, I think these have potential to go up again. Here's the Aussie Kiwi. Of course, a lot of this has been driven by the weakness in the Kiwi. This looks like a little correction, though. CCI kind of looks a little corrective, going down, kind of spread apart like this. When you see the CCI going up or down tight like this, that's indicative of a trend. You see it going down more spread apart like this, or going up spread apart, tends to be more indicative of a correction. So I kind of keep an eye on that, and it's kind of the same thing here with the Aussie Swiss. So that's what I'll be watching tonight. Basically what this means, if these play out, what this means is that the news is going to come out better than expected, and it's going to really surprise the market, and we're going to see a substantial rally, at least through the Asian session. I basically probably not going to trade this unless we get a pretty good deviation one way or another. If it comes out as expected, I think it'll probably hurt the Aussie a little bit, but I think it'll still turn up higher. But I might not trade it during the Asian session. But if there's a big deviation one way or another, I might look to take a trade. And I would say, like I said, right now the early look for me is potentially a positive for the Aussie. And the market, again, because remember, again, the market is expecting it to come out worse. So when you get those surprises, that's where the biggest moves can happen, because the market's expecting it to go one way and it doesn't. It goes the opposite way, and that's when you tend to get a bigger move. So let's see what happens. Do a little bit of research. Like I said, You know, Forex Live is a great free site. You can go there right now and find this story and just read it a little bit. And again, they're expecting it to come out worse, and to reinforce the RBA's chance of cutting rates. But if it comes out really strong, you know, on top of the positive employment report from last week, then that's going to reduce the expectations the RBA is going to want to cut, and the market is going to take that as positive and just keep pushing it up. So let's see what happens. I think it'll be a good opportunity either way, but as always, trade carefully, use good risk management, and just be careful. Like I said, nothing I'm saying here is telling you to take a trade one way or another. Use your own judgment, do your own analysis, but that's the way it looks. But these are the things that are going to count. So let's see how the numbers come out. This will really just be strictly a numbers-driven report. It's not going to be any written statement or anything. It's just going to be the raw numbers and how the market takes it. So maybe I'll do a follow-up later on after it comes out, see where we actually came in, and kind of look ahead a little bit. All right, guys, so that is it. I'll leave it there. Please like the video, share, comment, like the channel if you're just finding it here on YouTube for the first time. And I will talk to you guys soon. Oh, and one last thing, just really quick. Tomorrow we have probably the biggest news of the week in the morning, which is going to be Canadian monetary policy report and statement. And I'm not going to comment on that right here because this is about the Aussie. But go to Forex Live. There's a great story right here. 7 things to watch for in the Bank of Canada interest rate. Definitely check this out. This one will probably be more impactful even than this Aussie CPI number in terms of risk event for this week. So check that out. And if I have time, I'll try to make a preview video on the Canadian. So I need to look at this a little bit more, though. So, all right, guys, that's it for now. Take care, and we'll talk to you all soon.